Dear friends, happy Pride! Happy Pride, everybody! Happy Pride, everybody, and welcome to Forum Volkshochschule. We are so happy to have you here. It's Cologne Pride Week. What am I supposed to say? It's Cologne Pride Week. A big applause. Yeah, welcome to a very beautiful evening. We will be talking about sister cities and their queer activism. We have done that already. We did that in 2019, and you've been doing this actually for the last 6 years. And we are very happy to host this evening. My name is Humaira Mansouri. I'm heading the political education section of our adult education center of the city administration of Cologne. We call it Volkshochschule Köln in German. And we are doing this beautiful event together with my dear colleague Susanne Bonnemann from the Fachstelle LSBTI of the city administration of Cologne, and with Ute Dreiocker, who is sitting in the back. A big hi to you. Ute. Ute Dreiocker is working in the Office of International Affairs, so she is also very much involved in everything which is going on tonight. Yeah, we have introduced ourselves now. We are doing this not only as these 3 institutions of the city administration, but also we welcome our friends from 4 different sister cities that we are going to introduce to you in a couple of minutes. But we are also happy to announce that Volkshochschule Köln and the sister city committee of Cologne and Indianapolis have been conveying a project which is called ColognePride. Co stands for Cologne and in for Indianapolis, just in case you haven't known yet or haven't heard of it yet. And this beautiful project for queer visibility and queer networking between the sister cities of Cologne and Indianapolis is sponsored by the Urban Exchange Program that is hosted by the Deutsche Volkshochschulverband Internationale, funded by the German Foreign Office. So we are using public money to do good stuff. Always. It is also an evening to show solidarity. Usually we are very formally dressed and everything, not that casual, but 3 weeks ago we had Indianapolis Pride in our US sister city, and that's why it's time to show solidarity. Dear Dana, Indianapolis Pride. Yeah, and we know that we will have to talk about queer rights as human rights for a very long time and continuously, and that's why we're here to discuss all these topics with you and with our friends and colleagues together. Thank you. You're very kind. Volkshochschule Köln has dedicated itself to work for democracy, to work for human rights, to work for participation and empowerment. We want our civil society to talk about the topics that matter, to talk about the things that people are sometimes tired of talking about, or people think we don't have to talk about human rights anymore or work towards democracy because we have everything. No, we don't. We need to work on it continuously. And this is also an evening in which we want to connect you with each other, and we want you to talk to each other, exchange information, and also gain empowerment, and to have a quick look into what is actually happening in 4 of our beautiful sister cities. Let me just say quickly the 4 sister cities. We welcome beautiful friends from Kattowitz in Poland. Yeah. We welcome fantastic queer activists from Cluj in Romania. Equal rights for everybody, from Cork in Ireland. And of course, from Indianapolis in the US of A. Susanne, Ute and I enjoy that you are already so empowered and that you want to know more, because this is the reason why we are standing here and why we are sitting here, all of us. And we want to keep up the good atmosphere. It is a very serious topic, you know all that yourselves, but we want to have fun as well. And these are going to be 3, 4, 5 beautiful days, but Pride should always be 365 days per year. Right. Welcome everybody, dear friends.
Thank you, Humaira. Yeah, as Humaira said, my name is Susanne. I'm also working for the city of Cologne for the LGBTI office. And together with Ute, we've been running this Sister Cities Stand Together LGBTI rights, human rights exchange since 2017 in that form. And why are we doing it? Well, why are we spending public money, as you do, for this exchange? Well, Cologne has 22 sister or twin cities, and the city council, so the politicians, asked the administration to focus more on human rights a few years ago. So it's our job from the administration to start, we saw it as our job, to start an exchange with LGBTIQ activists, to network, to empower, to show solidarity, to inform the public about the situation of queer people in our sister cities, and to create visibility and awareness for the situation for queer people in our sister cities. And that's why we're doing this event here tonight. My position is that I'm the head of the LGBT office in the Department for Integration and Diversity, and it's a small LGBT office, but it's 3 of us. It's also my colleague Timo. And it's also Sonja, who's currently in our office. And it's been really good to see that for 6 years now we've done really good cooperation with the International Office, with Ute, and I thank you for all your support as well. What do we do in the LGBT office of the city of Cologne, you may want to know? Well, it is our job, apart from this project, to coordinate, to build bridges within the city administration and outside of the city administration. We have an LGBTI action plan. We coordinate the LGBTIQ advisory committee, which is the Stadt AG Queer Politik, which used to be called Stadt AG Lesben, Schwule, Transgender, LST. We organize the group of the city staff that are participating in the Pride Parade, 175 people on Sunday. Timo is in charge of that. And we're also running public campaigns to increase acceptance. For example, the posters you see in here and also outside, the campaign we organized with Sofra, Queer Migrants, which has just last Saturday won the award for the best prize for online communications in Germany in the category Equality and Inclusion. So you can have a look at the posters later on. So that are some of the things we do, but let me just tell you a short story of a positive but very unusual outcome of a sister city exchange. Let me just quickly introduce you to Val and Adina, who are also from Romania. Last year, they were part of the exchange group. They came, they were invited as activists. And this year, they've come privately because they decided to get married here in Cologne because they can't get married in Romania. Yeah. And as it happens, coincidentally, my dear colleague Timo used to work in the office as a marriage celebrant. So yesterday morning, Timo was able to be the marriage celebrant for Val and Adina. So that's the romantic part for tonight. And before I pass on to our Vice Mayor, Andreas Wolter, who's representing our Lord Mayor Henriette Reker tonight, who wasn't able to come, let me just tell you that Andreas has been part of the Sister City Exchange since we started it as a project, but also before. He's been involved whenever he travels internationally to sister cities. He's been always focusing also on the human rights of the queer people in our sister cities. And he's been to Kattowitz 3 times to open the Pride there on behalf of our mayor. He's also been to Cluj to open the Pride there twice, and just a few weeks ago. So I think he can explain you himself. Let me pass on to Andreas.
Again, a big applause for our Vice Mayor, Andreas Wolter.
Yeah, thank you, dear Holmera Mansoure, dear Susanne Bonnemann. Also welcome to Ute Dreieck, who organized it very well from the International Office. Also dear members from the administration from the city of Cologne, dear members from the sister cities, societies, from the Queer Pride Society, from the city working group of queer politics. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's with a great joy I greet our friends from our sister cities, and I want to name them: Ruth Bjorkford, Sergio Luculescu, and Lucian Hanu from Cluj. Welcome. And of course, from my side, congratulations to Vala and Andina to the marriage yesterday here in Cologne. Yeah, but we have a mountain to climb. It should be possible in Cluj, and that's what we are working for in the European Union. That is in every state of the European Union, and later also in the whole world. It must be possible that people who love, they can marry, and we have the same rights in every country, not only here in the western part of Europe. I welcome from Cork Sandy McGrotty, Cliff Davis, and Aaron O'Sullivan. Welcome. And from Kattowitz, Przemek Walarz, Anja Matras, and Grzegorz Wiączek. And last but not least, you made a farthest trip to join us here this weekend from Indianapolis in the United States. Nicole Neumann, you pronounce it like a German? Newman. So, but it's you have German roots, I think. So Neumann is very German. Katie Doyle, Zoe, Helen Byrne, is it right like this? And Whitney Morris. Lange, yes. So, and Dana Black. Welcome to Cologne. I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone, also on the behalf of the City Council and our Lord Mayor, Henriette Reker. Cologne stands up for human rights. That is why we are interested in exchanges with our partner cities on the topic of LGBTIQ+, and why we are interested in how our cities are doing in terms of equality, discrimination, human rights, and political support and municipal funds. Normally, it's not very easy to get in touch with as official from a city like me, by example, to go in another sister city and to get in exchange with NGOs. So we had the example that the Turkish president was also in Cologne to inaugurate the mosque a few years ago, and he was not welcome here. So, but what we do every time when the Lord Mayor sends me to a sister city like Cluj, I was there a few weeks ago, we always announce it to the city, to the mayor, to the city council. Someone is coming every time. It was okay. And there was also a development in the last years, by example, in Kattowitz. I remember in 2010, we invited the activists as well as the administration to join our gay pride in Cologne, and they heard from this fact. And then there was a letter or phone call from Kattowitz. Please don't send us the invitation. We don't want to receive this invitation. 10, 12 years later, there's a reception with the mayor of Kattowitz. Someone from the vice mayor takes part on the Pride parade. So there's a development, and I think that's a good result of this slow diplomatic ways we are walking, not too harsh, but slowly, and every year we are coming, and I think that's a good thing we are doing. We know from our many years of existence that it takes a lot of staying power, many clever activists, and a good network to bring the topic positively on to the public and to the politics. The situation for minorities in our partner cities is extremely different. Local politicians often find it very difficult to find a clear stance on the issues of discrimination, equality, and LGBTIQ+. So some are very far away from equality, equal rights, democracy, and anti-discrimination. We all know how fundamentally important it is for the further development of society that those responsible for politics take a clear position. And it's our duty to do it. So it's also part of our city policy. We say, if the human rights in our city, sister city, is not like we think it should be, and it's our values, then we get in touch also with the NGOs, also if the city council or the mayor doesn't want to support this. And in many regions of the world, repressive governments are increasing again. We have some here from the United States. There are also some states where we received not very good news. What's going on? There is a returning to old and very bad traditions, and so it's not only, we don't only look to Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, to the Muslim countries in Asia and Africa. So also we have to look on our society. We have also an eye on Italy, what's going on there with this right-wing populistic government. We will see what will happen there in the next years. And so what's very important for us, and so I'm also very proud that we are a founder member of this Rainbow Cities network, where more and more cities are joining this network and do a good job. But we are missing a lot of cities in this network. And I think it's our duty to set also LGBTIQ rights on the agenda, especially on the applying members for European community. So it's Moldova, it's Ukraine, it will be Georgia, but also Montenegro, Albania, and North Macedonia, because we saw in Poland, we see it actually in Romania. So if there are no clear rules and regulations before entering to the European Union, it's very, very difficult to make equal rights later on. So I think so cities and also the European Union, and I know they have an eye on it, they are looking for this issue, but we have to make more pressure and to give some good examples of exchange, and I hope that we can work together with Kattowitz, perhaps with Cluj, but also with other cities like Kotor or Podgorica in Montenegro or in Ljubljana in Slovenia. So they're a little bit open-minded and progressive, and I think that's the job we have to do in the next year. There's often no inhibition about pursuing homosexuality and carrying out death penalty. Not only in Iran, Afghanistan, Somalia, and Saudi Arabia. Last week I received a letter from the organizers from the Istanbul Pride. There was a lot of oppression and violence a few weeks ago, but they told us the Turkish government want make the deportation of non-Turkish citizens. And there are citizens from Libya, there are citizens from Iran and from Russia. And so I think we have also to talk to our sister city, Istanbul, what's going on there, to set it on the agenda. So respect for human rights must always be clearly demanded and fought for on every level. Even in our country, a discrimination attitude is once again quite openly making its way into political discourse. Against this background, the City Council of Cologne has made more funds available for topics for human rights and LGBTIQ+ for the work, and also with, of course, with our sister cities. The fact that we, as a municipality and a city, have been able to do continuous, competent and professional work on these issues for many years is not a matter of course. On one hand, a clear majority in the Cologne City Council and many very committed and convinced employees backs it. Therefore, my personal thanks to the specialists of LGBTIQ office and the Office to International Affairs and Town Twinning, as well to Hamora Mansouri for the Adult Education Center, our Volkshochschule Köln. Just now, Volkshochschule and Sister Cities Cologne, Indianapolis have established the co-in Pride project that is founded by the Federal Foreign Office. Representatives are here, welcome. Working for queer visibility and networking out to our society, and we will continue in a fruitful relationship. However, their work would be unthinkable without the city-wide network of groups, social organization, interest groups, associations, and activists in our city. They all find themselves in our city working group, Queer Politics. And that's also, I think, a big success. We started this process, might be 15 years ago, for this working group. In the first years, it was a little bit difficult to find a good relation between politics, administration, and activists in this working group. But in the LGBTIQ activists also have the right now to send in every committee of the city one member, also to discuss all topics on the agenda of the committees, and also to apply for some decisions. And I think it's a very democratic part of involving LGBTIQ members and LGBTIQ activists in local politics, so that they can be involved in decisions very, very early. I think that's a good thing. The City Working Group Queer Policy not only creates direct contact, but also ensures transparency, networking, cooperation, and this applies for the twinning network. The exchange and the communication are important to find out where is a need for action and where we can provide specific support. Moreover, that's why we have invited activists again to exchange ideas from our partner cities, Cluj, Kattowitz, Cork, and Indianapolis for this event. We are very, very happy to have you here today. I wish everyone a very pleasant stay in Cologne. Enjoy the next 3 days. The weather will be hot. We will see. Last year we had around 180 groups and 25,000 participants and 1.6 million spectators. This year we know we have 230 groups roundabout. We will see how at least it will be and how many people will participate. I wish everyone a pleasant stay in Cologne. Happy Pride and a nice Christopher Street and continued success. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our Vice Mayor, Andreas Wolter, thank you very much for the fantastic work that you do. And thank you also for supporting us in our work. So that's really cool. Yeah, he's a fantastic boss. When you look into the audience, you're all very beautiful, interesting, and interested people. And there are also quite a few heads of organizations here working in queer activism. There are fantastic, brave journalists here working towards more visibility and who help and who promote, actually talk about very, very important issues. And there are also two persons here who actually have no time to be here at all because they are working 24/7 right now, and they've been doing this in the last 360 days, maybe. And I wanted to give a big shout out to Cheryl Doughton. Oh my God, Barbara is not here. To Cheryl Doughton from ColognePride. It's beautiful to have her here. That was just important to say that we work with ColognePride and we do it with pride and happiness. And you have been supporting our Pride project so much. And there will also be space, of course, for our beautiful sister cities and our partnerships on the Cologne stages, and that's ColognePride stages, and that's a very, very important thing. And thank you for promoting this political work that we're all doing together. So thanks. Beautiful to have you here again. Now, the actual protagonists are here, and we are very happy to have a friend of our house and also a fantastic journalist who is Cologne-based here, who will do the moderation. A warm welcome to Sarah Brasak.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Pride. My name is Sarah, like Humaira said, and when she asked me, she called me and said, Sarah, you know, there's this evening, would you like to lead through the evening? And then she told me what was going on, and I'm like, yes. And I said yes, because I'm really, really interested to listen to the stories that we're going to hear now and to get the insights from 4 different cities. Yes, and I don't have a lot of time to lose. And Andreas Wolter, he was so kind to already introduce all the names of the guests we have here. I'm going to call the people on stage now. It's 4, and first of all, it's Sergio from Cluj. Next one is Aaron from Cork. Then we have Przemek from Kattowitz. And the person who traveled the longest way, I think, from Indianapolis is Katie. Katie, where are you? Ah, yeah. Please sit down. Przemek, we're going to start with you, I think. You have your microphone here.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. I enjoy my 5th time in Cologne, and every time I like to coming back here and inspired by audience and by impressive work which is done here. And always when I and my colleagues Grzegorz, who is present here, and Ania, we always make some results of our staying here. So as Andreas said, we always try in our city, keeping in back of our minds challenges which we have in Poland, in Kattowitz. We always try to do something nice for our community.
You will be holding the first presentation, and maybe I can say a little bit about these presentations. I was told they're supposed to be about 10 minutes long, and obviously everybody will have the opportunity to ask questions, either directly after the presentations or later outside, because we will have some networking and we will have some drinks. I hope cool drinks, and so either questions after the presentation or after the whole evening around 8:30. And maybe before you start with your presentation, maybe you could say 2 or 3 sentences about yourself, and then I don't know. I think you're gonna go over there, right?
Yeah, I think.
Please.
Let's start with something modest. I am chief of Tęczówka Association, and I'm activist since 2011. Right now, I'm the only worker in association, and it shows some conditions which we can operate in our city. So I think it's enough about me. I would like to talk about Poland, about our work, and mostly I would like to focus on results of our work. But firstly, I would like to show you some landscape of our situation and situation of whole LGBTQI community in Poland. I collect some highlights from last 2 years. What have big impact of our work is cut off from project financing. Since 2015, ruling party step by step cut off organization which are focused on human rights and including LGBTQI people rights, cut off opportunity to get money for any project. But I think money it's not such important thing, but mostly what probably you heard is LGBT free zones. LGBT free zones, it's a local law which openly support families, and in the first level it's okay to support families, but in this law there is some regulation which discriminated LGBTQI, and that's what creates some space where LGBTQI people are not welcome in their homes, in hometowns, unfortunately. Right now, in May 2023, still we have 67 LGBT free zones. During last couple months, number of LGBT free zones get low because of cutting of European fundings, but still there is some part of cities which doesn't want LGBT people in their communities. Big challenge and big problem right now is lack of psychological care in schools, especially LGBTQI students. Unfortunately, there is no professional help in schools, and they have to wait very long to take professional care in hospitals and in medical units. From our perspective, schools are closed for such organization like us. We can't do any anti-discrimination workshops. We can't introduce what LGBTQI community is. But not only we, some others organizations also are not welcome in Polish schools. And what doesn't change since many years is our legal system. In Polish legal system doesn't recognize some sex partnerships and marriages. Even you have marriage abroad in Poland is not recognized. And what is, I think, the most dramatic is situation of transgender people, which has a very harsh process in according with Polish law to process of gender recognition. Yeah. And I think this is a picture of shame. This is this year Rainbow Europe Maps and Index by ILGA Europe. Unfortunately, this is 4th time when Poland is the last amongst the European countries, and 42 place of 49 possible on this index. Yeah, you saw some landscape which influence of our work, but what is the big challenge in this year is a governmental election, parliament election, because 4 years ago, LGBTQI people, there was a main subject in a political discussion this year, I think, and we have some proofs that this situation will be repeated, especially attacks will be focused on transgender people. This challenge and this landscape have impact of our work, and I collect here 7 key areas of our activities which we implement during last 12 months, and I go quite fast during this case, but as you see, some of them are focused on our community, and these are inner activities, and some of them are outside activities which should, and I hope, and we see results that build our visibility and build our influence of some politics decision and some strategies. Legal advice since 2012, when Tęczówka was established, we provide free legal advice. This year, thanks of extra funding, so we can spread out our free legal advice for Ukrainian community in Poland. And here you see some numbers and results of our this area of our activities. Other very important areas is psychological support, and this year we launched 2 extras support group for all people who experience discrimination, because we strongly believe that wide horizontal point of view of discrimination will be much better and can make us more allies if we focus on whole problem of discrimination. And this year we start with support group in English and Ukrainian for our guests from Ukraine, but not only from Ukraine, and of course some numbers. Building a network, there is mistake, but we strongly believe in the relations, we strongly believe in cooperation, we strongly believe in our friends and in our partners, and as Andreas said, and as Susanne said, Stadt Köln is a very important partner for us, and our joint work brings very solid and visible results. And what we see this year, and was one of our priority, it was involve some companies into our allies partnership network, and because from your perspective, maybe it's not such obvious, but in Poland, Polish companies which are big corporation, Polish departments doesn't want to cooperate with LGBTQI organization, even if they have some equality politics strategies and so on. So this is visible proof that something is changing in Katowice, and some of these companies decided this year cooperate with us and support our activities. They see that their goals are common with our goals. Building a visibility of LGBTI people in public space. We organize Katowice Pride, but especially for this occasion, we decided to show something unique. What happened in Katowice? It was the first time nationwide Congress for queer women, and Susanna was there, and I think she can share their experience. It was something what was need in community, queer women community, and I think it's something what will became much bigger in the next years. And some numbers from my perspective is very impressive that we collect 150 participants of Congress. Sorry for this mistake. Politics. Unfortunately, we can't operate without cooperation with politics, but we see that this year we should be more visible in politics action, and we should be more involved. That's why we mostly focus on European funds, and we are in Equality Roundtable. It's advisor body to protect that European funds will be spent according with European values, including anti-discriminate LGBTQI people. And it's very important work for us for next couple years. Schools and LGBT youth. As you can saw on previous slides, we can go openly to schools, but we tried in our ways to reach out teachers and implement some tools for them to building supportive atmosphere and help to handle with school LGBTQI students. And we train some teachers, and it's quite, from their perspective, is act of courage, because mostly they can't openly involved in any LGBTQI activities. And what is quite important, that 2 educational centers decide to invite us to teach their workers how to be an ally of LGBTQI youth. The last one, we see that we as an organization has to be stronger, has to be more efficient. We have to be more united with others organizations. That's why we are involved in many alliances in Poland, and I would like to say about 2 alliances. The Polish Pride Alliance is unregistered officially body which unite every city in Poland, which organize Pride. And together we think about strategy, tools, and we take care about young marching cities or groups which thinks about organized Pride in their cities. Last year the smallest city which decided to organize Pride was city Milic. It counts 12,000 inhabitants. So we show that even in small city there is a place to building visibility of LGBTQI community, and we prove that in every place in Poland there is LGBTQI community. And second one is LGBTQ friendly schools ranking. It's ranking built by students, which put some notes about their schools, and it shows the most friendly schools in Poland, and is divided by regions. But this ranking has impact about for Polish Ministry of Education, and it shows that queer youth has a voice in their own schools, and they should be visible in educational system. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your hearing. If you want, reach out. This is some addresses, and if you have any question, you are welcome. If not want to ask me public, we meet outside. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your insights. I'm just gonna quickly look if there are any fingers raised. You will take the microphone, yeah, great. I see one here.
I just wanted to ask the numbers you gave.
Sorry, we all want to hear you.
Przemek, I just want to ask, the numbers you gave, these they were for the national level, not for the Kattowitz area.
No, it was Kattowitz area. We operate only on regional level. So all these numbers which you saw was scope of our results of our work in Kattowitz and in our neighbor city.
Hello, my name is Sabine.
Hello, Sabine.
I'm excusing myself for my lack of knowledge, but could you explain to me what the P in the
pansexual.
Oh, okay. It might be also polygender, so I wanted to. But you mean pansexual?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more one more. Myra has to walk across the room.
You do that on purpose, don't you? I know you. You do that on purpose.
Hi, my name is Julian. I was wondering if the society in Poland is going further. Is it more going to acceptance, or is it more going to disagree to human rights and the queer rights?
We see the big change in attitude of Polish society, and right now I think Polish society is ready for same-sex partnerships, and they are more open for LGBTQI needs, and we see it on Polish Prides, because every year numbers of participants is growing. And I think the big challenge is election and what they decide, because not only LGBTQI decides in election, but more all society, and we will see what they choose. But I see strong support of growing numbers of Polish people for our work and our needs and our perspective.
I would just like to add to that, because when I was at the first ever lesbian conference in Poland, I was on a panel on rainbow families, and what really surprised me there was there were 2 rainbow families, 2 Polish rainbow families, 2 lesbian couples with young kids, and they said, from their perspective, they said while the legal situation for them is non-existent, you know, it's horrible for them, they said their experience, their personal experience was that the Polish society is ready for rainbow families. And maybe it is because a family is, in a sense, a conservative construct, sort of. And so, but they was one woman there was saying that her brother was against homosexuality, and even when she was, you know, in a relationship with her partner. But once there were the kids there, you know, her brother was like the proud uncle and everything. You know, he changed his mind, and the kids were building bridges. And it surprised me, but you know, from their perspective, they said the society is ready for it and is ready to accept us. So I thought that was a positive note.
Okay, I think many more questions can be asked later, but for now I say thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, Sergio is next in line. And before you start your presentation, I would like to ask you about yourself. We heard it's 5th time in Cologne. Is it your 5th time as well?
Hello, my name is Sergio Luculescu. I'm from Cluj, Romania. It's my 2nd time in Cologne and also at ColognePride, but this is my 1st time in the organization. I'm so thankful to be here and to learn from one of the best of Europe how to organize a Pride and how to see an LGBT family so colorful, and I don't know, I'm really honored. Thank you.
Please step over.
Yes. So, as I said already, I am from Cluj Napoca, Romania. My name is Sergiu Luculescu. I'm here with my dearest friend Ruth, which is the chief of the first lesbian organization in Romania, Queer Sisterhood Cluj. So I think everyone knows what Transylvania is, okay? Everyone knows about Dracula. We have an inside joke, but I cannot say it out loud, but I will say the beginning. In the past, we used to suck blood, and now it doesn't matter. So the short name for Cluj Napoca is Cluj. The German version of it is Klausenburg, and the Hungarian version is Kolozsvár, because in Cluj during the old times we had big minorities of Germans and Hungarians living there, so we have 3 official names of the city. We are as well the unofficial capital of the region Transylvania, which nowadays is part of Romania. Okay, so I represent Checkpoint Aras Cluj. We are a testing center for LGBTQI community, but more focused on MSM, which means men having sex with men, and trans people. We offer free, anonymous, and confidential rapid tests for HIV, syphilis, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. We want to extend our services to do more tests for more STDs, and also to get PrEP in Romania. PrEP at the moment doesn't exist in Romania. It's not illegal, it's not legal, it's somewhere in a loop. So we want to get it there as well. I have here a picture with your vice mayor from our Cluj Pride this year. We don't have any kind of civil union or marriage for LGBTQI community in Romania. It's forbidden. This year, I'm sorry. This year, European Union forced Romania and other states of European Union to recognize a kind of marriage or civil union between LGBT community, but There is not a deadline for this, so at the moment we are still waiting for the Romanian Parliament to try to find a way to implement this. But for the moment we don't have any. Regarding transgender people, there is no way for you to do a transition in Romania. If you are born as a male, at this point you will die as a male. Okay. By ILGA Europe map, Romania has 18% rate. Unfortunately, we didn't meet many of the criteria regarding equality, law, health, education, cohabitation, and so on. The only thing that can let us show who we are the prides. At this point, we have 4 cities where we can do the prides. Bucharest, the capital, being the first one and the biggest one, and then Cluj on the second. So, as some statistic that Accept Romania did, 70% of people from Romania, the people that have the rights to vote, are against LGBT community. Yes. As you might see the numbers down there, 68% of respondents that the numbers from down there are for LGBTQI community and what they suffered in the last 5 years. So there is the feeling of hate is really, really strong even nowadays, mostly because we are an Orthodox country and people are continuing to be really religious. So I think that's the main reason why we are in this situation. Here are some pictures with us from the 4 prizes that I said that we are part of, and is the only way that we can show ourselves and who we are. At this point, there is only one business that got involved in organizing Pride, which is Accenture, as an international organization. And in Cluj, for the first time, it was also a second one, which is called Steelcase. The business sector at this point doesn't care about prides or LGBT community the same as the state does. Even though most of the companies are international, when we are trying to approach them, the answer is no, or there is no response. If this business system is going to support us, I think the state somehow will be forced to do as well. But we are really trying to learn from this experience at ColognePride how to try to attract the businesses to support us as they are doing here or all over the world. In Cluj, we have only 3 organizations: Pride Romania that organize the Pride, Queer Sisterhood that is a co-organizer of the Pride, and we are taking care of the health of LGBTQ community in Cluj. That was all about Cluj. If you have questions, I am here. Thank you very much.
There's one question over there. Humaira, are you walking around with them? Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry. Ruth is coming up now, right?
I'm very quick.
Okay, please welcome Ruth, everybody.
Hello everyone, my name is Ruth Borgford. I'm the founder of Queer Sisterhood Cluj, which is the only LGBT women's organization in Romania. We started in 2015, and in the last couple of years we've become a legal entity, so we can operate and sue the government and so forth. Yeah, which way do I? That way. As you've already met my coworkers, Valeria and Adina, this week I was privileged to be part of their wedding ceremony, and as you can tell, 1/3 of the team has married the other third of the team, so it's a lot of love. It's a family affair now. Just a little bit about the kind of stuff that we do. We've celebrated 8 years this year. We are co-organizers of Cluj Pride, and Andreas, picture on top, was present at our Pride parade just a couple of weeks ago. He's a strong influence on the way that the municipality in Cluj interacts with us. Last year, the municipality of Köln has invited the director of the police and the director of events that approve our Pride parades to come to Köln and experience what it's like to treat LGBT people with respect and not panic. And so it was a really useful exchange for us to observe. In addition to Pride, we also organize trainings for businesses. So we try to think about ways that work environments can welcome LGBT community. We also do a lot of psychological support, a lot of legal support for the community. Oops. Something that I'm extremely proud of and happy that we were able to do with Adina and Vale. Last year, when the Russian invasion on Ukraine started, we were able to gather funds and buy supplies for humanitarian aid and drive into Ukraine, into active war zones. And at the bottom here, we have the shelter, the LGBT shelter that we visited. We took from food, from cleaning supplies to clothes, laptops, whatever they needed. We even provided art psychotherapy, which I do in my sort of day job. It's probably one of the most powerful things and heartbreaking things that we witnessed, but we were happy to be to stand in solidarity with the LGBT community in Ukraine. Romania is next door to Ukraine, so we're very close. Something else that we do, we get involved with, the top 2 images are from protests that are around whether it's something sexist or related to violence against women. We participate in all those marches or spontaneous protests. We're also part of initiatives that support or fight for the rights of Roma in Romania, Roma people in Romania. In Cluj specifically, our city has, they have a city-approved Roma ghetto, which, you know, in the last 5 years they've been trying to change and bring people back into the community to provide housing, but it has taken a lot of protests, and we're happy to stand in solidarity with them. Something else that we do, for us, for me personally, LGBT or LGBT Pride has never been about growing in numbers. We're a small city. We're a 3,000 person march parade. So for me, it's never about growing that number. For me, it's about making sure that our Pride is more welcoming, warmer, more accepting, more inviting. 3 years, each year we try to bring someone that is even more marginalized than we are into the center and be at the center of our attention. So 3 years ago we had Roma activists. Last year we had Ukrainian activists, and this year we had the local LGBT deaf community. And we learned about this is the LGBT sign in sign language. Well, in Romanian anyways, the Romanian sign language. Every year we celebrate and we'll make quite a big fuss about Lesbian Day of Visibility. We also run Transylvania Queer Art, so we have a lot of exhibitions or movie nights like we just had during Pride this year. Sometimes when we have messages of hate, maybe we tag them back and we're like, nope, no pride, no shame, just pride. And something else that we offer is mental health support for the community. These are just some of the things that we do in Cluj. But as Sergio said, there's a lot of stuff that's happening. So thank you.
Ruth, there might be some questions for you too, you know? Maybe you want to take my seat? I will just... So, I saw the finger... Humaira's already there.
Hi, I'm Timo, and my question is for Sergio. What does the print on your t-shirt mean?
Thanks for reminding me. So in Romania, the subject of HIV, it's still the old ways, like the people don't really know how it's transmittable and all these kind of things. So in the last 2 years, we tried to promote the idea of undetectable, untransmissible. In Romania, it is nedetectabil egal netransmisibil. To know the community, the LGBT community, to know, and also the other people, that if you have sex, unprotected sex with someone that is HIV positive, you cannot get the virus. So this is something new for Romania, and we hope to reach as many people as we can. Thank you for the question.
Please take the microphone.
There is a way for trans people to experience transition in Romania. Just wanted to clarify that. So people can go through a legal appeal. They have to sue the local government to say that the paperwork, the birth certificate that they were issued at birth is not adequate anymore. It's a long process that involves getting a psychiatrist diagnosis that says you have gender dysphoria. It means you have to be on T or hormones for at least a year. In the past, you were required to have surgery, but not anymore. So it is a little bit easier, but it is still a process. But people can go through the experience. It is still very dangerous. It may be easier for trans men, but for trans women, it is a very dangerous place to be still.
Okay, I think that's it for now. No, it's not. Humaira?
I just want to ask, in Romania, you have also a Protestant area, and I think Cluj is a part of this. Is it not a bit easier than in Poland? And on the other side, we have, traditionally, we have a German-speaking community there with the Siebenbürger, and we have this in German. You have even a president, Mr. Johannes, who is from the German-speaking community. Does this not facilitate a bit possible speeches also with the church? What is the position of the Protestant church in Romania?
Protestant church does not have a big representation in Romania. The one that 90% of the population identifies as Orthodox. But Cluj is definitely probably more Catholic or Orthodox and Catholic than the rest of the country. Cluj, Transylvania specifically, because it is a university town, because you have maybe more foreign investment, I would say it is safer to be than in other places in Romania. I don't necessarily question if I hold someone's hand on the street in Cluj, but the rest of Romania I'm very aware. I'm trying to be, I live with a little bit of nervousness around. I wouldn't say it's necessarily, it's very difficult with the presence or input of the Orthodox Church into Romanian politics. They were the instigators of the 2018 referendum that tried to change the constitution from marriage between spouses to marriage between man and wife. The constitution is general, it is marriage between spouses, just the civil code says marriage between man and wife. But they tried to change the constitution. With the work of LGBT activists, basically the referendum was not validated because the population didn't go out to vote. So that was a huge win for us. Yeah, but That's sort of what can you think about the relationship with the church?
I would add that exactly before Cluj Pride, there was another meeting in front of the Orthodox Cathedral in Cluj, where people were still saying, no, it's a sin to be LGBT and so on. So in these kind of meetings are happening in all the cities. So the church is really influenced, and they are against us.
Okay, one more question, and then we move on, I would say.
Yes, my name is Georg, and after listening to the Polish and the Romanian stories and realizing how far the way still is and how difficult the situation is you are working in, and realizing that you are small groups and doing such a lot of good work, I just wanted to say thank you very much. You're doing a very, very important work for the whole community in Europe. Thank you.
I saw one finger over there. We're very much ahead of the time, but I don't want to stop anyone from asking.
Thank you. I have a question for the first presenter. According to your presentation, a vast majority of citizens do not support LGBT rights. And I have a question in relation to the legal classifications of, because I assume that there is a high level of violence towards or directed to the LGBT community. Are those instances of violence classified under a hate crimes legislation, or are they just general violence crimes? And do you see this reflected in statistics and government reporting? Thank you.
Legally, I can say that we are protected as a minority. There is a law for minorities and against hate regarding minorities. But when we have to talk about putting this in practice, it doesn't happen. So theoretically, yes, we are protected. In practice, no.
So the law that specifically includes sexual orientation or the protection against discrimination based on sexual orientation was just implemented in 2020. We didn't have this protection until now. There's absolutely no mention of gender identity, so that doesn't exist yet in Romania. So in terms of statistics, these numbers don't include the reportings based on this new law that specifically mentions sexual orientation. We're hoping to have more in the next few years.
Okay, thank you very much, Ruth. Thank you very much, Sergio. Katie, you're the next. And I was wondering, how's your jet lag doing?
How's my what lag?
Your jet lag.
Oh, it's going that well. Like I had no idea what you said.
How long was your trip? I mean, you arrived this morning, right?
Yes, like noon today. Today. It was 8 hours across the water, and then like 4 more. Ooh, plus the 2. So like that many. Yeah.
So good luck with your presentation.
Yeah,
then.
thank you. Just like you, Hamaira also asked me to do this, and I said, do what? But here we are, because I don't say no to her. So.
Yeah, and please also say 2 or 3 sentences about yourself before you start. That would be great.
Yeah, my name is Katie, she, her, born and raised in Indianapolis, and doing what we can to make it a better place. But yeah, so I am the vice president of the Cologne Sister Cities Committee, and in my volunteer capacity, I work in politics, and in my day job, I work in politics. So that's pretty much me.
Okay.
Right. So my presentation isn't as pretty as everyone else's, because it doesn't come with as many photos, but yeah, and it's also kind of Indianapolis in general. Do I hit? Oop. So this is downtown Indianapolis, a view from the canal. This is one of my favorite pictures of downtown Indy because it looks the prettiest, obviously. It's not the Rhine. So Indianapolis is the capital city and largest city in the state of Indiana. It is currently about 887,000 people and the 16th largest city in the U.S. It was 12th about 5 years ago, then 14th, and now 16th. So it is known for its vibrant culture, rich history, and impressive downtown area, if I do say so myself. It is the home of the Indianapolis 500, if you've ever heard of that. It is the largest single-day sporting event in the world. And it's also home to the Indianapolis Colts and the Indiana Pacers and Fever basketball teams. That is the downtown circle, so right in the heart of downtown, and everything kind of goes off from there. So just a little bit about representation in the city of Indianapolis. Our current mayor is Mayor Joe Hogsett. He is a Democrat. He's not a lady mayor, but we like him anyway. And we'll get to that someday. And right now, Democrats currently hold 20 of the 25 city county council seats within our city council. So in 2019, that went from, I don't know, we picked up, I'm not going to do math right now, but we picked up our biggest majority ever and now hold 20 of the 25. And 4 current city county councilors identify as LGBTQ+, one of which was the first ever countywide openly gay elected official. We now also, just outside of Indianapolis, fun fact, have our first ever openly elected gay state senator. And we have an openly elected trans woman to a city county council basically just south of Indianapolis. Democrats only hold 10 of the 50 state Senate seats and 30 of the 100 House of Representatives, meaning that Republicans hold a supermajority in the House. So that's kind of, our state house is located in Indianapolis, and the majority is Republican, but the majority of Indianapolis is Democrat. And I'll tell you why that's a problem in a minute. So some of the issues that we kind of see in Indianapolis, wow. I say Indianapolis is one of 92 counties. Indianapolis is not a county. It's in Marion County. But Indianapolis is in Marion County, which is one of 92 counties. But it is the only consolidated city in Indiana, meaning all of the county is the city of Indianapolis. It's the only one in the state. So because of this, and because it is one of the 3, maybe not so maybe generous, but one of the 3 Democratic strongholds as a county, it's one of only 3. So because of this, the Republicans at the State House like to pass laws that only affect consolidated cities, essentially only affecting the city of Indianapolis, if that makes sense. So this year alone, the state legislature passed multiple bills that are harmful to the LGBTQ community once again. It happens every year. This year, the ACLU of Indiana, who are the people that sue our government, because we as citizens don't do that, don't tend to do that. We have named it the Slate of Hate for this year because there were just so many bills attacking the LGBTQ community. But we see it every year. So one of which would be banning essential medical care for trans youth, essentially the equivalent of the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, and banning medical care to transgender inmates, banning books. Another one, as we see our trans community be hit so hard was also banning trans girls to be specific in school from participating in sports. So the governor vetoed that one, thankfully, and there will be another one. So those are just kind of some of the things that we see at the State House level that directly affect us in Indianapolis. But some of the positive things that the city has been able to do as in administration and with the majority of the council is pass resolutions recognizing Pride Month every year. So also in my personal capacity, I am the president of the Indiana Stonewall Democrats, which is like the statewide, fellow board member Dana Black, which is the statewide Democratic LGBTQ organization. So although Indiana has 121 cities, there are more Hoosiers, as we call ourselves. If you don't know what a Hoosier is, neither do we really, but there are more Hoosiers represented by Democratic mayors than Republican ones. So a vast majority of Hoosiers are represented by Democrats, but but most of the laws and legislation that's passed are from Republicans at the State House level. So there's not really much we can do on the city side of things that can really put teeth in behind the legislation. So nothing we can what we do is say things like a resolution recognizing Pride Month. And so one of the things that the Stonewall Democrats does is we kind of go to a whole bunch of other cities as well to kind of say, this is a very easy thing that you can do at a city council meeting just to recognize Pride, just to kind of have that visibility factor. So our city council has passed and continues to pass HROs, human rights ordinances, supporting the LGBTQ community. And one thing that is I think maybe not special, that's not the word, but I think that people kind of hold more weight behind Indy is the fact that it is the largest city, but it also has the biggest influence through businesses and our convention center and all of the things that happen downtown that bring our state money and opportunities. So when we are able to get local businesses in the city of Indianapolis to care, then we're able to get a lot more things done. For instance, striking down the 2014 law that was to ban marriage equality. We always kind of worry about it, but we don't really have to worry about it anymore, thanks to Obama. But yeah, these are some of the things that we do on the city level to combat what's happening at the state level. Just a little bit about Pride. Thank you. There are no statewide LGBTQ non-discrimination protections. They did at one point pass the, I'll get to it in a second. The non-discrimination protection in place for, so what we did as a state was pass the Religious Freedom Reparation Act. So essentially, it allows businesses to turn away customers that they find objectionable on religious grounds. So, one of the things we're famous for is the baker that wanted the gay couple that wanted a local baker to bake them a cake for their wedding, and then ended up suing them because, they didn't want to make their cake and didn't want to give them their money back because they were gay, essentially. And our state said, that's okay. But yes, Indianapolis itself, however, specifically prohibits discrimination based on gender identity and sexual orientation. So again, it's just kind of a little thing that the city can do to kind of try to combat what's happening at the state house. Indianapolis has the largest Pride festival in the state. I'm not sure how many we have now around the state, but I think it's over 16 now. Actually, it's over 18. And so we're seeing a lot of different prides pop up all over the state, which is great. So our Pride normally has between 40 and 60,000 people. We don't have over 200 people in our parade. You probably should have cut that off, Cheryl. That's a lot, but that's great. But we would love to. So, you know, the more the merrier. And most restaurants and businesses around Indy are very LGBTQ friendly. Because of the marriage ban and all the other things, they kind of started these rainbow stickers that a lot of businesses have in windows that say you're welcome here. It's just kind of another reminder of that. They also have a lot of Pride flags up, not only just during Pride, but other times as well. But we also have a lot of our big local businesses, you know, participate in Pride and decorate their offices accordingly. So it's really just, again, that visibility factor. Yeah. And Indianapolis as a city is bringing in more LGBTQ businesses and DEI-friendly businesses, and kind of putting more efforts to really focusing on kind of what those numbers look like and what the local businesses are doing to help our community as a whole. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you so much. And again, are there questions? Already two?
I have two questions. For reasons of jealousy, I want to ask if you have LGBT contacts with the other twin towns. You have Monza in Italy, Piran in Slovenia, and Taipei from Taiwan. And on the other side, your opponents is the Log Cabin, no? The Republican Party's LGBT group, Log Cabin. Ever heard?
Yeah,
okay.
Them.
I just wanted to ask, how are the contacts in view of the Senate and the majority of conservatives there, no? In the Indiana Senate.
Contact. Between non-existent in terms of our group and the other, like, Republican LGBTQ group. Well, their leader just became a Democrat, so I don't know how they're doing, really. The log cabins, that is. They, I think, still participate, but we do have a Republican senator who has been essentially, who kind of comes to all the things and has actually been fighting for our rights. So it's a good start. And I forget the rest of your question.
The other twin cities.
Oh, so Taipei is really the only, as I will not speak for the mayor, but I will quote him in saying he is up for re-election this year, and after this November, when he wins re-election, there'll be more activities within the sister city groups, but I know we are the first ones kind of working with Pride and connecting the city, if that makes sense.
It's not so much of a question, but I had the privilege of walking in your parade and going to your festival this year. And where it may not be as big as ours, the spirit and the support was absolutely fucking fantastic.
Yes. That's a lot.
And your festival was incredibly awesome, and you made this poor old lesbian happy by meeting my favorite drag queens. Thank you!
Yes, Naisha, justice for Naisha.
Justice for Naisha.
Okay, no more contributions
questions?
after that one. Then thanks a lot, Katie. And yes, please. And last but not least, as we say, of course, is Aaron from Cork. And Cork and Cologne have been twin cities since 1988, I read. But if I'm correctly informed, the queer connection in the network has only been established this year. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I suppose there's been quite a strong connectivity between the two cities more generally. I suppose, as you said, dating back quite a while. And Siobhan, who's the chairperson of our interagency group, so the LGBTI interagency group, has commended Cologne and the work that Susanna does, and Andreas and all of Susanna's colleagues, in terms of really leading the way, not just in terms of the LGBTI piece of it, but actually the very proactive utilization of those relationships. And I think, you know, with my colleagues Clive and Sandy here from Cork Pride and the City Council respectively, we, even just in the one day that we've been here so far, with lots more in our itinerary still to go, I think the thing that has really come through is the importance of that partnership. And for the likes of Germany and, you know, for Ireland, you know, we still face challenges that we need to address, absolutely, and there is still more to be done in terms of progress. But really what we need to be doing is, there is an onus on us in the countries that things are a bit more progressed and a bit more safe and the challenges are a bit more reduced, to actually stand with the people, I suppose, in the other cities, particularly utilising those twin city relationships to actually bring that forward and to put pressure, whether it be through diplomacy or through politics or through funding at a European level, to really drive home, I suppose, the importance of LGBTI inclusion in order to, I suppose, kind of fortify those relationships.
I'm really looking forward now to listen to your presentation.
Thank you very much. So I suppose just before I kick off, I just wanted to say thank you very much to the administration and to, I suppose, the representatives within the City Council for having us here. And also, I suppose, just to give us the opportunity to hear from, I suppose, the others and their experiences. I think it definitely has given us food for thought in terms of trying to get, I suppose, kind of our own local government, both within Cork and more broadly in Ireland, to actually kind of step up our game in terms of supporting our international counterparts and really, I suppose, strengthening on those. And one of, I suppose, a small example, speaking to, I suppose, kind of our Polish colleagues, there's a small town in the county of Cork called Fermoy, which has a twin relationship with similarly sized town in Poland, and they actually, I suppose, kind of ended their partnership, their twinning with that particular town on the basis that they were an LGBT-free zone. So while that might be, you know, a small step, it is kind of an indication of what, you know, a few people can actually do. And it is those small actions over time and those baby steps of progression that will actually ultimately make the world a safer place for all of us. So I suppose my name is Aaron O'Sullivan, my pronouns are he, him. I'm from Cork in Ireland, which is the second city in the Republic of Ireland. And I'm here with, I suppose, two hats on. So my day job, I work in the Sexual Health Centre as the LGBTI+ sexual health support worker. So mainly I do one-to-one support for people that might be struggling with their sexual orientation and or their gender identity. But I also, in my role, I am the interagency rep. So in Cork, we have an interagency group with all of the public services within the city, as well as LGBT NGOs and some community groups. And I'll speak a bit more to it, but basically it's about bringing the public services along, bringing them with us, making sure that they're inclusive places to work, but also inclusive places that they provide the services for the citizens of Cork and make Cork an altogether more inclusive place to be. And we're also here with Clive, who is the chairperson of Cork Pride, who is, I suppose, a very fundamental partner in many of the aspects of the work that we do in that space. So just to give you a little bit of context, so the legal situation in Ireland for LGBTI plus people, in 1989, we saw the introduction of the Prohibition of Incitement to Hatred Act, which, given that at the time same-sex activity between males was actually criminalised, was very progressive. It was very progressive because we were a member of the EU, and that's really the reasoning that sexual orientation was included as a grounds in that, even though, I suppose, paradoxically, we were criminalising same-sex activity. Thankfully, in 1993, same-sex acts between men was decriminalised. Same-sex acts between women wasn't criminalised, but that points more to our, I suppose, Catholic history in viewing, you know, women as not having, I suppose, kind of their own liberty and couldn't be seen as sexual beings in and of themselves. So problematically, that was, I suppose, beneficial in ways. Then in 2010, civil partnership was introduced. That was passed through the Parliament. So there was that went through reasonably. I suppose, you know, it took lots of work and lobbying by many political activists. But in terms of, because it was a legislative piece, there was little ripples and a bit of backlash, but nothing major. And then in 2015, I suppose there was two major pieces. One was the Gender Recognition Act. So for the first time in Ireland, transgender people who were 18 or over could go through an administrative process. They could write, fill out a form, get it witnessed, submit it to the Department of Social Protection, and they would be issued with a gender recognition certificate in their preferred gender. And I suppose more progress to be made in that, because it doesn't recognise non-binary. I suppose the Irish legislative system has a bit more to go on that. But at least for some people, it was progress. And then the other major piece was the marriage equality referendum. So I suppose the end result, due to the hard work of many people, so here you'll see, I don't know if some of you might know Kate there on the bottom left, the left photo, who had been one of the people kind of leading canvassing, and Clive did a huge amount of work in supporting the volunteers who were out canvassing, knocking on doors. And then I suppose that was the Yes Equality campaign, and ultimately the result, I suppose, when the announcement came through in Dublin Castle, the reaction to that. It's not a model that we would recommend. The rights of a minority should never be pushed to the majority. It could have gone the wrong way, and I think there is a potential that maybe it will be utilised in other countries as, you know, oh, well, we can put it to a vote, and it might not be in the same space. So it's not a good model. We don't recommend it. It was very hard fought. It was very draining for people who were knocking on doors and facing rejection to their face. There was a lot of things in the airwaves, so because obviously state media needs to be balanced, we had kind of the same groups being endlessly telling us how, you know, we didn't deserve rights, etc. But they had no problem with gay people. It was just about children, or it was just about marriage and the sanctity. So to, I suppose, my colleagues in countries where that is still to be, it is achievable, and I suppose there's an onus on us to support you in that fight. But equally, it can happen. So we went from 1993, decriminalisation of same-sex acts, to 2015 to having same-sex marriage. The other piece, so I suppose those are, I suppose, the progressive bits. In terms of some of the other bits, so in terms of the ILGA rainbow map, we ranked 16th with a rating of 54%, just behind Germany on 55%. Obviously, optimally, we want to get everyone across the board to 100%. So we're not, you know, we're grateful, I suppose, that we're in a slightly more fortunate position, but equally we have a lot more work to do. So there's hate crime in Ireland. We don't have hate crime legislation. We just have general, we'll say, assault kind of pieces or associated ones, and there is theoretically the potential for increased sentencing if it's through a hate motivation, but in reality it's not actually utilised. So that's going through our parliament at the moment. And it also updates our hate speech law and incitement to hatred, so there's a bit of pushback in that space in terms of, thankfully, we don't have any major political parties that are, I suppose, against it. We have a couple of independent politicians, parliamentarians who are, I suppose, against it and on the freedom of speech kind of angle, but I suppose hatred and bigotry isn't free speech per se. We also have no recognition for intersex people, and also in terms of trans people. For trans young people, the options are extremely limited. So if you're 16 or 17, there is a court process that you can go through in order to get a gender recognition cert if you have parental consent. But if you're under 16, there's no options whatsoever. Also, in terms of, I suppose, transgender healthcare, the waiting lists are very long. So currently we have the National Gender Service, and the people who are currently being seen were referred 4 years ago. So it's quite a long waiting time in that space. We also have to implement legislation in terms of banning conversion practices. And equally, there are still some gaps in our family laws for rainbow families. So we have a piece to do in terms of surrogacy, not just for LGBT populations, but for the general population. And also, there are certain categories of rainbow families based on how they were conceived or how a child kind of came to be that are not yet protected. But there's a lot of work ongoing to actually kind of close a lot of these gaps and hopefully, I suppose, ultimately make it a more inclusive place. So the social situation, so I suppose comparatively, we are very fortunate. There are challenges. We're not without homophobia. We're not without transphobia. There has been assaults. Sadly, I suppose last year there was actually 2 murders of gay men. So it's definitely not a universal piece. Maybe our considerations aren't the same as some of our international colleagues. There is more work to do, and there's a lot more work to do for people who are at, I suppose, that intersectionality piece. So LGBT people with disabilities, or within the Irish travelling community. So that would be our national ethnic minority, or other migrants that we need to really support. And I really admire, I suppose, kind of the concentration of Cluj's Pride in terms of platforming those at the heightened levels of discrimination. We do have increased visibility of LGBT members in public life. So we have 7 LGBT parliamentarians in our 2 houses. They're predominantly cisgender male gay politicians. We have 1 bisexual female in the upper house at the moment. The lower house. Not the upper house. And then the challenges, I suppose, hate crimes are on the rise, or at least the reporting of it is. Because we don't have hate crime legislation, it's slightly a bit grey. And then recently across Ireland, and particularly in Cork, we've had an increase in protests from maybe the far right, kind of people with very extremist views in terms of targeting libraries of all places. When I think of the world in a general sense, I don't think librarians are the greatest evil out there, wherever you're coming from. I think they're guardians of knowledge and facts, but somehow these people are weekly going in and just harassing librarians. So we have made a really strong stand, and in the interagency group we have nominated the Cork City Library for a national LGBT award for strong allyship, because they've really leaned into not backing down and standing up for LGBT people. So in my day job, I'll just fly through this slide because I'm conscious time is pressing on and I ramble a lot. So we do rapid HIV testing, we have support for people living with HIV, counselling for people living with HIV, crisis pregnancy support, sex worker support programme, sexual health workshops, disability support programme for people with intellectual disabilities, marginalised groups, professional training, a national condom service, sexual health support for the LGBTI community, that's myself, and a helpline. And then in the interagency, in the steering group, it was founded in 2002. So I suppose at that time it was a very different environment in Cork. So Siobhan up there, just to the left of the flag, in the front, has been the chairperson for the past number of years and has done fantastic work in that. In some of the images there, and they were from this year, so we had a seminar focusing on healthcare and housing for older LGBTI plus people, and looking at some of the challenges that are unique to that space. And then the middle picture was the launch of our Awareness Week. So the membership, as I said, includes public agencies, LGBT NGOs, and it's to try and, I suppose, dispel to share the workload and not just leave it to LGBT NGOs to do all of the heavy lifting and to get public services to actually buy into that. So really quickly on the sexual health centre side, part of the challenges that we have faced are funding and resources. They're certainly not the funding and resources challenges that some of our colleagues have, but it is the kind of, we very rarely get multi-annual funding, so it's usually on a year and then another year, or maybe it'll stop, or we'll get part funding. And the other piece is, as Irish people, we're not great about talking about sex or sexual health. So it's getting people to, I suppose, talk about our service. Those are just some of the work that we do in the pictures. So the main challenges for the interagency group is organizational buy-in. So sometimes we have, you know, a representative is put forward from an organization. So we have people from the army or people from the Navy or the library service. And that person might be very keen and proactive and very in favor of LGBT rights. But maybe the senior management in that organization doesn't have that buy-in. So it's about supporting that person to actually leverage and negotiate better work. The day job, so there's no dedicated staff on it. So for everyone that is on it, it's just a little portion, an add-on of their work. So it's at the discretion of a person's manager as to how much time they can contribute to that. Powers of local government in an Irish context are considerably weaker than most of our European colleagues in a broader sense. So in terms of budgets, in terms of powers, in terms of legislation, they can pass bylaws in relation to litter, like parking, roads kind of space, but they don't have the same maybe autonomy, and we don't have directly elected mayors, things like that. So it's much weaker what they can do. Government is very centralised in Ireland. And finally, like I suppose all of our colleagues, homophobia, biphobia and transphobia do exist. And we recently, as part of the LGBT Awareness Week, held a library event in the library about countering hate. But because it's a public event, the protesters who were hateful turned up and started shouting and filming. So ultimately, what was, I suppose, rewarding about it was that there was only 4 or 5 very loud voices. And ultimately, I suppose that love, solidarity and support did, I suppose, not to be overly optimistic about it, but did win out. So success is achieved. So there's been many successes through the years, but I suppose 2 of the very important kind of physical infrastructure pieces. So while they may be very symbolic, they're very important. So you'll see here on the left, it's a rainbow crossing, and that's on the main street in Cork City. So there's actually 4 of them on the main street. So that was very much the work of the interagency group predating my membership, and Clive and the Cork Pride and the City Council. And that was it's a real visible, you come to Cork, and if you've never been there before, it's a real visible and permanent, you know, just symbol of inclusion. And then the other piece is this balustrade here. So it's in front of the City Hall. So it's just a glass balustrade with the Progress flag kind of emblazoned upon it. So anyone who enters Cork City Hall passes that and knows that, you know, while everything mightn't be perfect, the City Council is supportive. And then the other piece is just in terms of growing that network. So both in terms of the membership within the interagency group, but also the kind of active involvement. So we have, we'll say, the Gardaí or on Gorda Síochána, our police force here. You can see just a little bit of a Pride police car. The army down here. And then, of course, the broader network. So in terms of the international piece of the Rainbow Cities Network, so here we are with the official signing. So that's our just finished Lord Mayor Deirdre Ford in the official kind of Rainbow Cities Network. Welcome. And then the other piece is recently, Saturday just gone, we had Trans Pride in Cork. So that was just an example there of, I suppose, one of our LGBT NGOs, Conrad, just created and sewed together that trans flag. So I suppose just as I finish up and and thank you for your time. I'm conscious time has gone on.
Thank you very much, Aaron. I was looking at the pictures and thinking we might get some more rainbows maybe in Cologne, City Hall, I don't know, you know. Would be great. Any questions for Aaron? I see one finger over here.
My name is Georg. I work in the Rubicon in Cologne for elder LGBT people. And my question, you just mentioned a housing project for elder people queer people in Cork. How is the situation for elder and old lesbian, gays, trans people and others in Ireland, but also in the other countries, in Romania, in Poland, in Indiana? That is my question.
Yeah, so I suppose in terms of in the Irish context more broadly, we have a significant housing and accommodation crisis, not LGBT specific, it's universal. In terms of public housing and social housing, after the financial crash, it basically just stopped. And now we've a real backlog. There's huge waiting lists for social housing, and we're really only making a very small dent in what needs to be done broadly. And I think that colours in ways the situation for LGBT people. So there's a very new and relatively recent queer housing co-op has, I suppose, established in an Irish context. They're very early stages, but they're working towards, I suppose, looking at models of other housing cooperatives. Specifically in Cork, I suppose there's a very prominent LGBT activist in Cork that has been a long-standing worker, Arthur Leahy, and he is involved in a housing cooperative in Cork that has been there for actually decades, and there would be a reasonable cohort of people that are in that co-op that are LGBT. But one of the speakers that we had for the seminar was Tonic Housing in London, and they're looking into expanding in Manchester, so they got funding from the Mayor of London to actually purchase, on a loan basis, to purchase housing units. So Tonic in London might be worth looking at if that is a space.
I have two questions, Aaron. I just come back from Bologna, and there was a festival of LGBT choirs. Choral Fusion from Cork, the mixed one you have, was absent. When will he sing in Cologne? My second question, we have this on the European level. We have this EU LGBT strategy, 2020 to 25. And in Germany, we have a process called Living Queer, Queer Leben, a process of working groups. My question is, I don't dare ask this question for Poland and for Romania, but are there activities on a similar level pushing? We are half-time in this process, 23. We still have 2 years or 3. So do you have something in Ireland or maybe also in the other countries? Katie, sorry.
Yeah, so on the first question, Choral Confusion, I can't speak for them. They're very fabulous. They had their 10-year anniversary concert relatively recently, and I'm sure they would be only delighted to come to Cologne, so I can pass it on to them. I assume you're also maybe a member of the Cologne Gay Men's Chorus, so I hope it went very well for you. The second question, so strategies. So in a former role, so before I was working in the Sexual Health Centre, I was a civil servant, so I was actually working at one stage in the Department of Justice and Equality. And during that time, I was working on the first national LGBTI plus inclusion strategy. So that was in place from 2019 until 2022. And because of COVID, it was just extended out by a year. It certainly doesn't solve all of the issues. A lot of it hasn't been implemented, but it was a start, and there's more work to be done in that space. They will be renewing, I suppose, devising a new strategy going forward in that space, and that's currently in the Department of Children, Equality, Disability and Integration and Youth. That's on a national level. I'm not sure if that answers your question. Yeah.
My suggestion would be one last question, and then we take it from outside. Yeah.
Can I answer his question about Indiana?
Yes, please.
So I'm Dana Black. I'm actually her subordinate on the Indiana Stonewall Democrats. She's the boss. To answer your question, yes, the midterm, there's an organization called Human Rights Commission, HRC. They do a lot of the continuing work on a national level as well to continue to highlight the issues that are happening in specific places, calling attention to them. Obviously, we mentioned the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, which is the bank of lawyers that go in and sue for things that are not constitutional. But many of the issues that they're talking about in Cork, we're actually seeing in multiple levels in Indiana. Once you think, we play whack-a-mole. I don't know if you guys know what that game is. It seems like once you get one situation taken care of or squashed, there's another one. And the backlash that ends up being the hate that we see. So in Indiana, we kind of put a pseudo fake wannabe hate crimes legislation. It omitted LGBTQ plus community as listed protected communities. So it's like we wanted to be checked off the list, but we didn't actually accommodate. But to answer your question, yes, there are other organizations that are doing things from a national level, but then targeting things at a 50-state level, and HRC is one of those, Human Rights Commission.
I'll also add, we're also one of the 11 states in the U.S. that still have yet to ban conversion therapy, so that's something we are also working really hard to do.
Okay. So the last question is to Aaron. So in every country in Europe, it was a hard struggle to get equal rights. But in Ireland, I always thought is a more or less rural country, conservative, religious country. And my question to you is more regarding on Romania and Poland, because they have all very conservative societies, rural sides. So what, do you have a message for them? How did you manage it to get a majority for equal rights for LGBTIQ people? Because I never thought that it went so quickly in Ireland. So I always thought, yes, no, Ireland never, but at least you managed it. What is your secret?
Well, it's certainly not my secret. It's, I suppose, the work of LGBT activists throughout the decades, going back to, even 1920s, 1930s, and I think Ruth actually made a really good point. I suppose a lot of minority groups, we've a lot more in common than we have in difference. And I think that uniting of the different groups is really helpful. And I suppose to the powers that be, it serves them to pit people against each other. It's because they're not then talking about them. So if you can point the finger at somebody else, then they will encourage that. But if people can stand together, and I think, ColognePride's motto is very, I suppose, relevant, and it kind of points to the partnership of everyone. And I'll probably butcher the German, but Vila gemeinsam stark is very true. And it's something that we all need to take in all of our lives. And I think one of the really important things that we need to do is, yes, stand with our international partners, but we also need to stand with every other minority. So every single person in this room needs to be the greatest ally to our ethnic minorities, to our people with disabilities, to the people who are outside on the margins, and together we're a really huge group. And ultimately, I think in the Irish context, family was actually what brought it together. And when somebody is presented, they know somebody who's LGBT, and it's very difficult to say, no, actually, we're not. People are really human at the end of the day, and I think if we can appeal to people's humanity, we're onto a winner. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Erin, for this perfect answer at the end of this evening. It's not the end of the evening, I'm sorry, because we're going to take all the other questions outside now. But before that, I just want to say thank you for the insights. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your work. Thank you guys for coming here. And thank you everybody who organized this evening, Humaira, Susanne, Soundcheck, and everyone else. And if you don't have anything more to say in the first row, nope, then I'll just end this evening and say thank you, happy Pride, and have a great time in Cologne.
Legato.
Legato.
Sì. Minus Queers.
Okay.
.com.
And the first one is Voce.
The festival from this association is various.
Various.
Various minus voices. If you go to the slash, if you go with Queers, after the slash, you will find all these propagates.
Okay.
And on YouTube. The last time was in Lyon. They had even from Turkey. There was a choir. And in Ukraine, there are 3 choirs. There were 2 choirs were in Bologna. So, see you soon in another role singing.
Okay.
Now.
I will take it.
Denke ich mir dann halt auch, das liegt aber halt dann auch an den Lehrern, die wahrscheinlich selber nichts anderes können. Ja klar. Ja, und dann gibt es halt nichts anderes mehr außer das, ne? Ja, das glaube ich. Ja, aber wenn du da dran bleibst, dann kann aus dir noch mal richtig was werden. Also, was willst du denn mal werden? Als ob man noch nichts ist. Ja, finde ich auf jeden Fall ziemlich cool, dass du da mal mehr oder weniger mit dem Nick, ihr seid ja so gesehen die einzigen, die ihrem Instrument auch treu geblieben sind, halt auch regelmäßig was machen. Ich meine, klar, für dich ist es halt auch ein bisschen einfacher mit Üben. Vorteil, dass er 2 Geschosse hat. Wo er mehr oder weniger ungestört spielen kann. So. Ich könnte die Trompete halt höchstens im Lager auspacken, aber das ist jetzt auch nicht gerade so das geilste Ambiente. Hä? Ja, aber diese Dämpfer, das spielt sich so anders. Du musst so viel mehr und anders den Luftstrom bündeln. Und ich habe das Ding ja irgendwann verkauft. Ich hatte das ja, dieses Silent Brass, wo du dann mit Kopfhörern spielen kannst, aber das war einfach nicht das Wahre. Du brauchst eigentlich brauchst du halt einen vernünftigen Raum, in dem du frei spielen kannst, wo du dich ungestört fühlst. Und in meinem Lager habe ich mich auch nie ungestört gefühlt, weil ich meine, diese dünne Wand da zwischen diesem Müllflur, wo dann halt auch ständig irgendwelche Leute reinrennen, klar, das kann man vielleicht auch einfach ablegen, abschütteln und dann einfach